So up next, after that primer, thanks, Rand, I would like to introduce our guest. And with this room, I doubt she needs much of an introduction, but I'll do my best and see what I can pull off successfully from her bio on the USD page. Coach Williamson was named South Dakota Head Volleyball Coach in 2014, becoming the 9th head coach in program history, and previously was an assistant coach from 09 to 13. Very good. I appreciate the supportive nods. Williamson led the Coyotes to their first ever Summit League Tournament championship following a 5-set win over Denver in 2018. I don't know if you remember that, but boy, that was even a blizzard coming, and you barely got out of town in time. That victory earned South Dakota its first ever NCAA Division I national tournament berth. Williamson also garnered the Summit League Coach of the Year honors during that season as well. In 6 seasons as the head coach, Coach Williamson has coached 14 All-Summit League honorees, one of those being All-Summit League honoree, including Brittany Jensen, who she coached to earn the title of USD All-Time Assist Leader. Is that still true? She's still All-Time Assist Leader? Okay. In her 5 years as an assistant, she also helped lead the Coyotes to their first Summit League postseason berth in 2013. And I believe there is a note somewhere in here that you were also integral in the transition to D1. That was during your time as well, right? Very nice. I just find a super fascinating statistic. Since becoming head coach, the volleyball team has won 143 wins and 66 losses for the whole time, Summit League being 84 wins and 25 losses, which included a 16-0 season just 2 seasons ago, and going 13-3 in a COVID season, and going to the NCAA tournament during a COVID season. All are amazing things. My wife and I are thrilled that volleyball is coming back. I think I said that to all of you last week. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce our guest speaker for the day, Coach Leanne Williamson.
I think he knows his stats about me better than I know my stats about me, and that is very true. I also have to say I actually very much enjoyed the dad jokes. That is my husband's favorite thing to do to me. I can't tell him I'm running to the store without him telling me that it'd be faster to drive. I mean, it is, I can now answer my own comments at this point in time, but I'm sure I'll hear more of those. He would enjoy all of them. He used to pull up websites and read them all to me, so yeah, it's fun. What? Still trying to figure that one out. I'm just kidding. I appreciate you having me back here. One of the things that I try to think about is not repeating myself a ton as I come back year after year. I kind of get into the habit of talking about the same things. So I tried to look back and see, and when Mr. Shorn asked me if I would speak and gave me a couple dates, I purposely picked this because it would be after our first weekend, which, as you all know, didn't happen. So I don't have a ton to talk about yet with the fall, but we'll be able to give a little bit of a preview going forward. So going back to spring of 2021, I will tell you it's probably one of the most challenging seasons that I've ever been a part of. And obviously we still won a lot during it, but the pandemic just threw a whole lot of different wrenches in things. There was the constant just fear of, oh, the trainer's calling me again. Why is she calling me? Wondering when that shoe was going to drop, when things are going to make things a lot more difficult again with our team. But luckily, we didn't have any COVID cancellations in the spring, which I think is pretty remarkable. And actually, the Summit League as a whole had 0 COVID cancellations within our sport. And I think that says a lot about the athletes and what they were putting into their time and how they were making sure that they were putting I think the team at the front in a lot of situations. We only had 1 match canceled, and it was because of weather. It was the snow coplets, or whatever you want to call it, in Denver, when they ended up getting almost 24 inches. And of course, it started after the match got canceled, but we didn't know that. We thought it was going to start about 12 hours earlier. So that was an interesting situation. But a couple highlights. 1, beat our first ranked opponent. And I think for myself, at least being here since 2019 and being a part of that transition from D2 to D1, I came in year 2 of the transition, and seeing where this program started to now where it has gotten to, that's something that I'm extremely proud of, and I'm proud to have been a part of it for that entirety. That was Creighton, who was ranked number 14 at the time, and we'll talk about this later, but we got a chance to beat number 12 this weekend. So we're hoping to take that to another level. I think one of the biggest things that we talk to our team a lot about in most years, but had to trust it even more this year, is that idea of trusting the process. And I say it every year, and our players roll their eyes at me. They get sick of me saying it, of trust the process, trust the process. And I think in life in general, but sports especially, when you're talking about 3 to 4 months of training, you're not going to be the same team at the end of the year than where you start. But for our athletes, it's very difficult. It's difficult to work through. It's difficult to understand why maybe they're not always playing at what they consider their capability or what they consider their potential. So there's a lot of the mindset that goes into it of just how do we continue to get them to stay confident through failure, through losses. And that's something that in the spring was more prevalent than any other season. For example, we finished up our fall season, which we were on and we were off, and then we were on again, and then we were off again with training. So they didn't have a full fall season where they were in the weight room or they were in the gym with us. There were weeks at a time where they weren't able to come in and do anything physically. So that's hard for an athlete, I think, to continue to see themselves go forward in the physicality aspect, or again, the volleyball aspect. And going into season, we started, I think, on December 30th, so right after Christmas. We asked them to try to make good decisions over the holidays, which is hard when you're asking them to, in some situations, maybe separate themselves from their family, or not sit really close to every single person that's at the holidays with them. But with that too, they had gone since about November 20th, 17th even, because I think it was the week before Thanksgiving that we got shut down, in the gym. And some of them did stuff in their own weight rooms at home, but physically they weren't prepared to have a full season. It was impossible to do that. A lot of them did what they could, but they were not coming in at the same level, the physicality level, as what they would on a normal year. So we use something called a jump count. They have wearable technology. It's a little chip, basically, that sits in a belt that they wear, and it counts how many times they jump. And we kept them on a specific jump count. So for the first week, I think they were at like 55 to 60, which if you come to our practices now, we're probably over 110, 120. So to limit them that much, they felt like they weren't getting better as fast as they would like to. So anyway, we had to give our players time to acclimate. We had to ease them into it so that we didn't have a lot of injuries, and that was one of the things that we were really aware of. We didn't want to put them into a negative situation. So we really had to get them to buy in and trust that process and understand that the way we started was not going to be the way they ended. And we struggled a lot that first weekend. I think everyone on our team thought we were going to go in and win all those matches that we were playing, and we didn't. But with that, we trusted the process, and then the next weekend we beat number 14 Creighton. And I think what we learned even as coaches, we get into this habit of scouting reports, and we've got to put them in the perfect defense, and we've got to make sure that blocking wise they know what to expect. And we took a step back and said, what's our role in this? How do we affect them? And we changed the way we did scouting. We changed the way we prepared for our opponents, and we really tried to focus on ourselves a whole lot more than we ever have. Which was hard, I think, for our players again. So going into Creighton, we watched film and had our scouting report 30 minutes the day before we played them. Normally we would do it probably 3 to 4 days ahead. They'd have a week to train for it, to prepare for it. And after we beat them, we just went back and we're like, I think we've been doing this wrong. Let's continue to focus on our side of the net and make sure that we're putting ourselves into good positions, because if we're a good volleyball team, it doesn't matter what they're doing. We can play the game at a high level. And actually, that's something that we're taking into this year as well. The team that we have doesn't need to know everything about the other team. They need to focus on themselves, on our side of the net, to put ourselves in that position. Another highlight, conference tournament in Sioux Falls. I mean, who would have thought that would have been as incredible as it was in the midst of a pandemic? We were supposed to host last year, and it got moved up to Sioux Falls because of the reduced tournament size and just the capability and the unknowns, really, when they were planning the tournament of whether or not we were able to have fans and all of those factors. So being at the Pentagon, though, it was an incredible environment. I don't know who was all up there. It was insane. I'm sure I know some of you were, but it was a great experience, I think, for our players, and I think the rest of the Summit League does not want to play in Sioux Falls again. They've actually made that comment multiple times. So I can't wait for the tournament to be here this year, and they have to deal with that. But 2 matches that were hard. I mean, we went to 5 with Kansas City in that first match, and we had gone to 5 with them both times during the regular season and lost. So we got to that 5th game, and it was kind of like, here we go again. Same situation. How do we change that tide? And I just thought our players did such a good job of staying calm through it. Points went back and forth. There wasn't a big lead at any point in time, really until the end. And I think the last 3 to 4 points kind of went our way. And then Denver being down 0-2. You do not want to be down 0-2 to Denver. They are an incredible team, a great program. But again, you saw the resilience of our team. And then the 5th set, I can probably tell you all of the points leading up to it. But we were up 14-12. We get the call. We think we win, although I didn't think we won because I knew that she touched it. So our players are celebrating, and then they challenge, and we're like, okay, here we go. Fans are pissed because the call got reversed. And I actually looked at the stands at one point in time. I was like, it's okay. They're right. So the nice thing with that is we didn't actually have to use a timeout to prepare for kind of that next play. Maddie Wiedenfeld goes down and sprains her ankle right before our timeout, and she's on the bench. I don't know if she's going in. I don't know if she's not going in. So we make a plan to put somebody else in. Then she says she's going in. I'm like, all right, let's do it. Setter sets her, which was not advised. But it was just back and forth, back and forth. They had multiple match points. We had multiple match points. So to see it get to that point and then to come out on top was just an incredible feeling and something that I definitely will not forget. And then in the NCAA tournament, I think there was a lot of negativity around the NCAA tournament last year. Obviously, it started with the March Madness situation with women's basketball compared to men's basketball, and then when ours happened, I think it was about a week or 2 later, there was a lot of negativity surrounding it again. And the thing that we tried to focus on as a team is we were in the NCAA tournament. It's exactly where we wanted to be in that moment. There were times, there were months where we didn't think we were going to have an NCAA tournament as a volleyball sport. So to be able to put something together and be able to compete when there was only 48 teams was something that we were extremely proud of. And would I have liked it to be in a different situation? Yes. Would I have liked it to be at a host institution instead of the arena or instead of the convention center? Yes. I mean, those are all blatant yeses. However, we were playing and we were competing. We didn't compete very well in that tournament, in that game, but it was an opportunity to be there. Now, this year, we returned our entire squad except for one. One is choosing to focus a little bit more on school. She's in the nursing program, so something that I think was a good choice for her. But with that, we do have a lot of returners. It's the first time we can say we're experienced in a lot of years, and something that we're very excited about. We're physical, we're long, you're gonna see that. Some of our blocking rotations they're insane of just how high they can play, something I was never able to do. So I'm always a little bit awed at their ability to do some of those things physically. Preseason, we were picked number 1. That poll to me really doesn't mean anything. It is guessing as coaches of just who's gonna come out on top, who has the best players, and I think we were picked that probably because of the fact that we returned everybody. And with that, I think the thing that I am proud of is we have worked very hard within this program to get to that point. You know, for many years, we were the team chasing the top. We were the team wanting to be at that top until 2016, where we won that first regular season championship. So to get to that point, and now to be at that point where everyone feels like we are that team being chased, we're the ones with the target on your back, it's a very cool feeling to have, but it's something that we've worked for. It's something that you need to want to You need to want to have it, though. You need to want that everybody's best match. You need to want to be pushed beyond extremes at times. You know, every team we play is going to give us their best match because we are the one team that everybody wants to take down right now. And I love that. That's the type of environment that I played in, and that's something that we've worked very hard to get to. So we talk about culture of success within our program, and I feel like with where we're at, that's that thought process right now, is wanting that success, earning that success, and understanding that people are going to fight tooth and nail to take that away from you. Obviously, last weekend was canceled. It was tough because we were actually cleared to play other than one player, so it wasn't our decision to not play. The other 3 teams chose not to play us out of an abundance of caution, and that was really hard for our players. Again, you think about these athletes that are putting in hours a day. I mean, during preseason, twice a day, plus lifts, plus meals together. I mean, they were together for 9-10 hours a day at times, to then go to our first weekend and be all excited to play, and then all of a sudden get the news, oh, we got to back it up. So they postponed the match first, and then we were literally on the bus at the gym waiting to be released if they said that they would play us, and chose not to, which I respect. I think it's a tough situation that we're in, obviously, with COVID still. It's still very real, and it's something that we just hope we don't have to deal with again. But again, out of abundance of caution, we tested everybody when we got back to make sure that we were putting ourselves into a good position. Because little known fact, there's a rental car shortage in the country. So to get a one-way car is impossible. So we actually had a very nice employee drive out to us in a state vehicle, drop off a car for the person that needed to drive the one home that did have COVID, and then flew back with the team. So on a short notice, about 30 minutes, we're like, hey, can you drive out? He said, yes, let me just call my wife and I will be there. So I think it just reminded me of how great of people we work with as well, that somebody was willing to drop everything to come out and help us in that way. So we'll be in Louisville this weekend. We play Northern Kentucky, who is in the Horizon League, and they are historically a very good team, have been to the NCAA tournament multiple times. We play them first. We play Louisville, who's number 12 in the country right now. They started 3-0 this past weekend. They are a very good team. I was watching film on them before I came over, so excited about that opportunity. And then we play Mizzou, which is a rematch from our NCAA tournament last year. I will say the one thing is different is they have a ton of turnover. I think there's maybe one person from that team's roster from last year that will still be here. So it's a very different program, very different team. So there's not a lot we can take from last year to kind of bring into this year. But we kind of talk about with every great challenge comes a great opportunity. And the way we scheduled this year with our preseason was difficult. It's the hardest preseason we've ever put together in terms of the opponents that we're playing, the level of competition that we're playing, and we felt like this was the team that could handle it. This is the team that we needed to kind of take to that next level and give them those opportunities to beat people that a lot of people don't think we should. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do this weekend. Next weekend, we get to be back home. I feel like it's been forever, and we are very excited to host that tournament once again. The one difference is we play Thursday, Friday. So our first match is actually Thursday night. We have the home football game on Saturday as well, so we kind of moved everything up by a day so that we didn't have that overlap, and we could hopefully not stretch our fans too thin. So looking forward to that. And actually my alma mater is coming as well. So Friday night, we'll be playing Milwaukee against my old coach. So that'll be kind of a fun matchup for us. One of the questions I actually got from Mr. Shorn, gave me an idea, was the implications of COVID with recruiting and just how that really affects us as a program and how that affects how we go forward. The simple answer is I don't have a good answer. It is a ever-changing puzzle. It is something that is not concrete. Normally we have a list, we have kind of an Excel spreadsheet that Michael puts together and has all of our positions, and we have years probably out 4 to 5 years. So yesterday we were looking at a chart that we have going out to 2025. But even then, yesterday we were talking about 26, 27. So the hard part is we do recruit fairly fairly far out. It's slowed down a little bit based on some of the recruiting rules that have changed. So we recruit juniors, whereas football a lot of times are recruiting seniors. Even men's basketball is usually later than that. So they're talking maybe late junior year, early senior year. We're a lot earlier than that. We used to be sophomores into juniors. Like juniors was a little bit later for people to be committing, and now we're kind of at the early end of the junior year. So we actually have one commit already in 2023, for 2023, which is crazy that it's that far out already. But the hard part with this extra year of eligibility that the NCAA granted to every athlete is they have an extra year and they don't know. And some of these players we're talking to in the fall, they're in their first month or two of season, and we're saying, hey, do you want to take your extra year? And I just remember the one of them, and we said, you don't need an answer. We don't need to know exactly, but like, what are your thoughts? Just so we can start to have some of those conversations as a staff. And one of them goes, Leanne, I haven't played in a game. I don't know. Like, whoa, I can't even fathom having an extra year. She was very right. So that's what's difficult about it. Our philosophy as a staff is if they want to take their extra year, we want them to be here. I'm not going to take away a year from them. They've given a ton to this program, every single one of them. I love our team. I love our personnel. I love the people that they are, the students that they are. So if they want to be here, I want them to be here. The hard part is that makes our roster a little bit bigger at times. We can't stop recruiting because these freshmen don't know if they want to take their senior year. Now they're sophomores, but some of them don't know yet. Sometimes it comes into academics. You know, we have a couple that are looking at nursing. If you're in nursing, we've kind of figured out how we can do it in a normal situation. They'd go about 4.5 years instead of just the typical 4, and that kind of matches up their clinical semesters with our fall season schedules. But now if you're talking about adding an additional year, that's going to 5.5 years or even longer in some cases. So some of it has to do with academics, and some of it just has to do with do they want to do that in their life? It's hard. Can their bodies hold up? You know, it is a very physical situation to be in. It's hard. It's hard on their bodies. You always have something going on, even though we try our best to keep them as healthy as we can. So our kind of thought process on it is we keep recruiting. And if people want to stay, they stay. So this year we have 17 on our roster. That's the biggest roster we've ever had. Usually it's about 15. 16 was always my max, and now we're at 17. So we actually had to get an additional locker for the locker room. Just little things like that you don't really think about. But again, if they want to be here, I want them to be here. I want them to be a part of Ncaa Volleyball. So that's kind of how we're going about it, but we have charts galore. If this happens, then this is what it looks like. If this happens, then this is what this looks like. So it's a puzzle, or maybe more of a chess game. I don't even play chess, but I know chess is a lot of strategy. So I would say that it's more like chess. But it's also what's kind of fun about it. It threw a little bit of a wrench in it, but it allows us to really kind of think outside the box and be creative and find people that are still going to help elevate our program to not just where we are now, but to that next level as well. What else do I have here? That's kind of where I'm at right now. I did have to count the other day. Somebody asked me what season I was going into, and I honestly had to count. This is year 13 for me, which is crazy. My husband works for the city. We've got 3 little kids. Hopefully they'll be able to come to the games again. My little girl is 2. I bought the little cheerleader outfit, you know, that they sell at Walmart. I felt like she needed that, and some little Adidas shoes. You know, she's going to be dressed well. She might not want to watch, but she'll be dressed well. But we love Vermillion. I love being able to come and actually know people that I'm talking to and with as well. That means a lot to me, and something that I couldn't have said, I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first started coming to talk to this group. So Vermillion has been very good to myself and my family, and it's something that I love being a part of Coyote Volleyball and Coyote Nation. So any questions for me? Yes?
I have plenty. You mentioned about Missouri having a high turnover. When you look at other teams, have they handled the COVID experience less well? Have they faced challenges that they weren't up to? What can we expect from teams, other teams besides USD?
Yeah, I don't know if I could speculate on people not handling COVID well. I think the hard part is Mizzou's been a kind of a high turnover rate for the last couple years. And that one, we have a player actually here now, Bryn Powman, who started at Mizzou. So we've got some insider knowledge from her. We won't share all that. But I think what's hard about it is people do recruit so young. And because of that, you're asking, I mean, up until about 2 years ago, you're asking 14, 15, 16-year-olds to make a decision on where they're going to go to college, what they're going to study, what kind of a coach they want to play for, you know, what kind of a program team. And that's a lot to put on that age of person. So I do think that you see a little bit of a higher turnover at times because of that. You know, they get there and it's maybe not what they expected. They weren't getting the playing time that they maybe wanted. The coaching staff and them don't vibe. That happens a lot. Because through the recruiting process, everybody's putting their best foot forward. Us as a staff, we very much believe this is who I am. I think I've acted the same with you guys every single year. Who I am is who I am. I'm not changing if I'm on a recruiting visit, if I'm speaking in front of people, if I'm at practice. I don't yell very often. I don't, you know, to me, consistency is huge. So we say that. I mean, I think a lot of people say that, but I think other people don't buy into that. I think other people act in some situations. So I've seen it. I've seen that, and I don't like it, and that's part of the reason why I don't do it. So I think when people come here through the recruiting process, they very much see who we are, and I think it's pretty consistent, but I don't think that's always the case. COVID, some people weren't given the choice to come back. I do know that. For some schools, it's easier than others, partly because of maybe the cost of going to school there. You know, for us, we're a fairly, you get a great education for a good price, but there are other schools even within our league, say a Denver, who's paying, you know, 3 times, 4 times as much as us, as our student athletes who maybe have to walk on that year instead of getting a scholarship. And our scholarships weren't raised. I mean, we have 12. That is all we have, 12 full, and we can't split that up at all. The NCAA did grants this year that we could go above 12 for seniors that wanted to come back. But the hard part is, in the times that we are, nobody has that money. Nobody has the money in an athletic department to go above and beyond with that. So there's probably a few that I don't know about that are able to, but the majority of people, if they're talking about coming back, they're walking on. So I think that's hard as well. But I think this year for Mizzou is just a little bit of I think they needed a new start. Yeah. What are yeah, yes?
How many on the roster from South Dakota?
3. Sorry. Sammy Slaughter, Laura Peterson, and then Brooklyn Bolweg. Brooklyn and Sammy are from Harrisburg, and then Laura is Sioux Falls. Yes. Yes, Dave.
Not a question, but there are many of us who are longtime fans that can remember where you didn't need a large arena to watch USD volleyball.
Me too.
And, having had the opportunity to watch how you and Matt started the ball rolling and now to see what you've done, it's remarkable. You should be I'm really happy and proud of you.
You are one of my favorite people too. It means a lot. Yeah, I think that, and I will tell you this year is even another step. You know, I was talking over at our table about the fact that we have courtside seats this year, and this is the first year they're doing it. And I was just told today we have 40 seats available. We sold 39 of them. And I was a little bit nervous because I feel like courtside seats are something that you have to really, really want to be there for, right? You're a little nervous, I know. But I think just every year we have continued, the program has continued to grow and the support has continued to grow. And I couldn't be more thankful for the people that are supporting these young ladies do what they love to do. And I will tell you, it is way more fun playing in front of you than anybody else. So going back to those days when we played on the football turf, I mean, that was a big arena. It just wasn't conducive for volleyball. To Into the Den, you know, where we averaged, I think, 175 to pre-COVID, we were at about 1,100 a game, is pretty remarkable. And I know our marketing people believe that there's still room for improvement there. So I'm really looking forward to this next year and what else we can accomplish. But there's another question over there. Yes?
How many players actually get on the court during a game?
So, well, we haven't played a game yet this year, so I can't say based on, I would say going into this weekend, I would anticipate 9 to 10. We've got the 6 starters in our libero, so there's 7 right away. And then we have a back row specialist that will usually come in, so that's 8. And then throughout that, we usually use 1 to 2 serving subs as well. So about, yeah, so we have a good amount of people that aren't playing every game. I will say our depth is incredible. We have so many people that can contribute. It has actually been very difficult. Going into our exhibition match, I had no idea what our lineup was going to be. And we actually used that to put some different lineups out there that we've never played with. And I think it was good for us. It was beneficial for us to struggle through it a little bit and figure out what was going to be best for our team right now. But I think who starts at the beginning of the year, I would be surprised if that's the exact same lineup by the end of the year. I just think with some training and some experience, I think some of these players are going to take off, which is exciting. That's what you want, and you want your team to feel like they constantly have a chance to make that jump. Yes?
Where do you least like to go in the summer league?
That's a tough one. Ooh, can I say that out loud? Western's a tough trip, Western Illinois. It's about 7.5, 8 hours by bus. There's not a great way to fly there, so you don't really have a choice. And they don't have a great fan base, so it's a very quiet gym in a lot of situations. That would probably be one of my least favorite trips. The rest of them aren't too bad. And even then, we take a sleeper bus for Western Illinois a lot of times, so I catch up on my sleep from all the sleep I don't get with the kids at home. So even then, there's some benefits to every trip. Any other questions? Yes? So we have myself, Michael Rundy, who has been here for, this is going on year 7, and then Shelly Stumpf, who's going on year, is that right? She's going on year 6, Michael's going on year 8. See, I told you, I can't even remember anymore. We've been together for so long. And then we have Brie Lichty, she just started with us, she's our new GA. She's kind of our director of ops. She keeps me in line and makes sure I turn in everything I'm supposed to. She's awesome, she just started a couple weeks ago. So it's the 4 of us mainly right now, and then we've got a couple managers and a practice player that comes in as well. So kind of 3 additional people beyond that, again, makes everything run a little bit smoother. All right, well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.